What up, G-Life? It's your boy MC Shadow. Hope you guys are going to enjoy this video right here. Now this video is about crews that became neighborhoods. You know what I mean? Because now, if you want to know what's the difference between a hood and a crew, a tagging crew, I have a video right here when you go to Hood Talks, and it's called The Difference Between Hoods and Tagging Crews. I break it down right there, you know, what's the difference. But these are the ones that became, that were crews that became hoods, because if there's one thing I see a lot, and I don't understand why, is a lot of fools be like, them fools are just a tagging crew, or like, them fools are bitches, man, they're just taggers. Like, first of all, taggers are down for their shit too, you know, like, just because you're from a tagging crew doesn't make you a bitch or a pussy or nothing like that. Like there's tagging crews that go at it with neighborhoods and seem to hold their own, you know, pretty good, you know what I mean? Like, just because you're from a tagging crew doesn't make you soft, you know what I mean? I met a gang of fools that were taggers that were real riders, you know what I mean? A lot of the homies were from tagging crews before they became gang members. Some clicas from some varrios were tagging crews, you know what I mean? There's homies in there that are big dogs, that are pesados, that used to be taggers. So what, they were all bitches? All of them are bitches? The whole clicas are full of bitches because they were tagging crews or not? You know what I mean? Like, all of that shit is nonsense, you know, to be thinking like that. You know what I mean? That's what happens when you let lies go on without getting checked. People start believing it to be true, but they don't make it true. Here's just some. We're gonna start with the south side of LA, because it was one of the homies' ideas for this video. So, you know, we're gonna do the south side first. You know what I mean? So let's get into it.
I'm from the bottom of the block where we really gang, where we don't never speak a word, we just let it bang. That's life up in the bottom where we could never hang. It's that before this on, I swear to God I'll never rank. And boy, I'll never break, I'm built for this just like a tank. You diss me once, homie, you won't get another chance. And I won't even speak a word, I'll just let it blast. I put that on the vital, homie, that I'm down to smash. And you come and test the water, see if it don't crack. And real G's never switch up, never take the stand. A real G keeps it solid, never rolls with rats. I'm true to the code, homie, never looking back. And ain't no dirt up in my name, homie, those are facts. I keep it G, homie, I don't never have to act. Ain't nothing like these suckers on the net that spitting cats. Boosting up their name for the fame is considered trash. You already knew on where I stand. With the homies posted in the vital daily packing strats. Boy, la vida loca, it be crazy in my habitat. Dead before dishonor is my code and ain't no turning back. Dead before dishonor is my code and ain't no turning back.
G-File.
What's good, G-Life? Now this right here is the city of Boyle Heights. Boyle Heights, Los Angeles. Boyle Heights is in the east side, not at East LA. There's a difference between Boyle Heights and East LA. You know what I mean? One's considered the east side, one is East LA. They're not the same thing. Even though, you know, people do tend to consider it all, you know, the same thing. For those who come out of those areas, it is not seen as the same thing. But I know I said we were going to start with the south side, but the reason why we're here is because this neighborhood is also located in the south side of Los Angeles, that we're going to be at. So I, you know, thought it would only be right for to start off where they originated from, which is right here, Boyle Heights, which is the Cam gang. Now, the Cam gang used to be a tagging crew. They were taggers before. That became a neighborhood. The reason I started with these guys is because these guys are well known, are full of riders. You know what I mean? I met gang of homies that are down from here. They have a good reputation. You know what I mean? They're a very active neighborhood. You know, anybody that's familiar with the area could tell you that. You know what I mean? Obviously, you're gonna get some people in the comments saying that is not true and everything like that, because that's their enemies or whatever. And understand that they're gonna say stuff like that. You know what I mean? But that doesn't make it true. You know what I mean? Like, a real G is always gonna give the credit where credit's due. Even if they're my enemigas, I'm not gonna say that they don't put in work, because that will make me a liar. And I don't know about you, but if you're claiming to be real and you're telling lies, that don't make you real. You know, you can only call it for what it is. Even if you don't like it, I mean, you know what I mean? It is what it is. You could say F that neighborhood, but you know, you can't be making up stories that, you know, they ain't around and they don't put in work, because if not, then who's writing on all these walls and who's smoking all these people? You know what I mean? People can't be making up stories now. But the cam used to be a tagging crew that became a neighborhood. This is a perfect example of tagging crews, being with the business and going up the ranks, holding their own, even though with all odds against them, like with bigger neighborhoods trying to pressure them into getting into their hood. They always held their own, right? While other neighborhoods did become and click up with bigger gangs that were established. The Cam Gang is one crew that said Chale, stood their ground, and represented theirs. You know what I mean? And trust me, that it's a tough task. It's something that's not easy, to do. Because that's a high ladder you have to climb. But if your homies are devoted enough, I mean, it can be achieved. Very few achieve it, but it can be achieved. You know what I mean? Now, their neighborhood, it's what's from Cesar Chavez to Soto, from Soto to Evergreen, from Evergreen to Wabash. That this area used to be a part of Vickystown neighborhood. Other neighborhoods that were around here too, like Soto, Fricket Street. You also had Wabash, that ended up becoming Cam. You know what I'm saying? Those were neighborhoods that were already established there. But like I said, Cam was a tanker that was with the business. You know what I mean? There were no suckers. They were putting it down and holding their own. Even with, like I said, larger and more established neighborhoods there. These little homies, they had riders on their side. You know what I mean? They weren't just gonna like roll over and just die. So they just multiplied. And right here in Boyle Heights is the original home right here by the Wabash Park, by El Tapayac and all of that. That's home base for this neighborhood. You know what I mean? That's their stomping grounds. Where they hold it down. Where they hold it down right there. Now this right here is Bell Gardens. In the south side of Los Angeles. Now, this is also home to the Cam Gang, the South Side Cam, because the other one's East Side Cam. Is the same neighborhood, but one is the East Side Cam. This is the South Side Cam gang, but like I said, it's the same gang. Now they did expand a branch of their neighborhood right here in Bell Gardens. There was a tagging crew that was around that was known as DSW, which I'll be covering right here because that's its own neighborhood on its own. I'll explain it more once we get to that part of the video. But right here, there was like I said, DSW did ended up getting into Cam and becoming a clique off of Cam, and they set up shop right here on Bell Garden Avenue and Quinn Street. So it's between Quinn Street, Bell Garden Avenue, Gotham Street, and Eastern. So what's in the middle, close to like the Playboys gang, I guess you could say, right here in Bell Gardens, is what's considered the Cam Gang's, now new territory. You know what I mean? They don't have that long that they've been right here on the south side, as established. But they do have a presence here, and they do, consider this their home and their turf. And they were, like I said, they used to be a tank crew, so DSW got in, and that became a clica, right here. But that's what's up with the Cam Gang. That used to be a tank crew that became a neighborhood. And like I said, they solid, you know what I mean? An example of what I mean, that just because you were from a tank crew don't make you, lame. That's what's up with the Cam. Since we're already here in Bell Gardens, we might as well continue to stay here. Now, right here in Bell Gardens, it's also home to another tagging crew that became a neighborhood, which was known as NTS. NTS stood for Notorious. Notorious was a crew that was around in the 2000s, early 2000s, and became a neighborhood roughly around the later years of the 2000s. You know what I mean? 2014, 15, roughly around there. That's when they became a neighborhood. And the NTS did stand for Notorious. They kept their same name standing. I know that there's crews that make their crews stand for different things. You know what I mean? But as far as I know, Notorious is the only one that they use. Now they're roughly more of a, like I said, they're more of a smaller hood because they were a crew, and they're not as old school as some of these neighborhoods that already been around right here. But nonetheless, they're still up. They still maintain active. they got turf right here. It's on on Eastern, throughout Eastern, like by where the bicycle casino's at, Clara, roughly around that area is where you could find the Notorious gang. And hey, they do their thing, homie. You know what I mean? They handle business, man, and continue to represent theirs. But this is another example of a tagging crew that became a neighborhood. You know what I mean? Now here's another tag banging crew that was around. Now this one's been around a little bit more older than some of these other ones. They were around since the late 80s, early 90s, when this this was a tag banging crew that stood for Wicked Evil Sureños, and their neighborhood was right there on Habaneria Road, and in between Florence and Garfield, and Gage. So what's in the middle, Loveland that extends throughout their neighborhood, Loveland and Era, Darwell and Tuller, so everything that's, roughly around that area was considered the Wicked Evil Sureños territory. WS. Now this one's an average size neighborhood, not too big, not too small, average size. They do have the riders. You do see the activity by these guys. They hit up everywhere, so, staying true to their roots or fundamentals, you know what I mean? But like I said, these guys ain't no joke. Just because they used to be a crew don't mean shit. They have riders, they have homies that are busted. They do their damn thing, homie. So this is a perfect example of, crews that had riders, that stood their ground and climbed up that ladder to become a neighborhood and maintain it as such, and continue to still be active till now, and doing their thing. And I know they're still active because you see their damn graffiti all over the place. They've been doing their thing. But yeah, that's what's up with the Wicked Evil Sureños, the WES right there. Now here's another one. We have DSW. Now DSW was a tagging crew that became a neighborhood outside of California, in the Utah area. So technically it's the same thing, right? Because they moved out there, so it's the same thing, and they became a gang over there, so they're a gang. I know over here they write X3, but I know there's homies that say, but they're not 13. But if they became a neighborhood over there in Utah and it's the same one, then technically it's a neighborhood. So DSW standing for Down Sick and Wicked, doing shit wicked. They have several things in which their neighborhood stands for, you know what I mean? So they're right here on Eastern, as well, already heading towards the Southgate area. So like at the end of what's Bell Garden, transitioning into Southgate through Eastern is where you can find DSW, Down Sick and Wicked. And they're not as large because obviously DSW became CAM, but some of them didn't want to join the CAM gang, because this crew was big, and several of their members just ended up getting into different gangs. Some got into CAM, some got into different other neighborhoods that are around the area, but there's some that still maintained to represent their clica. And like I said, some moved out of state, kept it over there and made it become a neighborhood. And so yeah, DSW right here is not as large as it used to be, but nonetheless, they still have a presence, and you still see them up. And here we have the JBI neighborhood. Now JBI is a neighborhood that used to be a tagging crew, roughly around the 90s. It used to stand for Just Blaze It, just blasting individuals, just blasting idiots, jack boys, juveniles. But the one that you hear most often that they use is Just Blaze It and juveniles. That's the one that you roughly see, the most of. Jack boys as well. So they do have several things that they make a stand for. And they are located right here in Maywood on King, and in the 50s, throughout the 50s right there, is where you can find their presence in Maywood, or as they call it, Jaywood, because they do use the Blue Jays, as their gang symbol, you know what I mean? But they are right here in Bell Gardens, as well, you know what I mean? And Bell Gardens, is where they set up shop, the larger of the two sides of their neighborhood right here throughout the Hanon block, throughout the park. The name of the park right here in Bell Gardens, is they got a strong presence, you know what I mean? These guys, suckers, you know what I mean? The park right there is on Scott Avenue on Hannon Street. Like I said, that is their dojo. So throughout those back streets, is what they call home to the Jays gang. And these guys did become a neighborhood roughly in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. Is when they became a neighborhood. They're large, they're deep, they're still active. You know, I know a few guys out of this neighborhood been hit up by a lot of these guys. You know, from Mo to Drag to Boo Boo to several of them, and they do have a rapper from this neighborhood named Bullet who gets down. I do recommend his music. Go peep him out. That's Bullet, Mr. Bullet. He used to rap with King Little G. He has talent. He's from the JBI neighborhood, and like I said, JBI is with the business, homie. These guys have writers. You know, you definitely hear about these guys. You see their activities, and this was a tagging crew, homie. But they were gunners, homie. They were gunning fools down. These guys ain't no suckers, like I said. Just because they're a tank crew doesn't mean shit. I know for a fact these guys put in work. You know what I mean? You hear about these guys on this side, but that's what's up with the JBI.